All right, everybody, and welcome to the 9 Years podcast. I'm Nick Draper, joined as always by the face of the BBC Sport website, Mr. Stuart Deakins. And yes, we have to talk mainly about the R word. No escaping it. 6 defeats in a row, 8 defeats out of 9. Trouble, trouble, that's AFC. Injured hips and bad energy. Alongside that, we'll also be talking about the Wolfpack, Bonds, Stewards. We'll play a fun game of Richard Osman Foyo's House of Games to break the tension of our relegation battle, and then we'll look ahead to the trip to Wigan on Saturday to the Wigan Athletic Stadium, because I don't think it's ever been called anything other than a sponsor's name. I think at the moment it's called the Brick Stadium, Stu. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
I noticed that when I was just checking it. I was like, crikey, there's some fans that would love that. Take the ground down brick by brick. But yeah, they're sponsored by a brick.
Hmm. I love my
It must
brick.
be it must be a great brick.
It's got to be a hell of a brick. Okay. But I mean, we could start getting our Bible stories out now if we really want to, but I think I'll save the theology lesson for this week. But
Like,
thank you very much. No, go on, Stu.
I was just saying, like, I know we're sponsored by Cherry Red, so you could argue that a brick could look cherry red. That's the only link. It's just, I
Pardon
don't
me,
know.
that's the most. You're talking to the king of tenuous links, but blimey, tenuous links, tedious links, whatever you want to call them. Wow. I think we've hit a new low. I can't lie. But anyway, thank you very much for downloading the show this week. However, you were listening to us. And Stu, before we get into the whys and wherefores of another defeat and our squad issues and our injury issues and absent players and players that don't get game time, I want to talk about something a little bit different to get started with. And this is my hot take of the week, my hot topic, as we used to call it in publishing when I used to work in publishing many years ago. My hot take this week, fan zones in football.
Yes.
They are horrendously detrimental to atmospheres at football stadiums. And I'm going to use Saturday as an example of this. All right. You are seeing these fan zones sprout up everywhere. And I've been to many stadiums this season where they've now got fan zones outside the stadium. Luton have now added one. Southampton had one. Wickham have one. All these different clubs. And do you know what they do? Two things. First of all, the first negative is they've taken a lot of people away from pubs. You go to an away game, most people find a pub and stick themselves in there, or even home fans would find a local and go in there. Fan zones have taken those away. Pubs are dying out. Okay, they are becoming obsolete in society, which is a big shame. Football has not helped with this because of fan zones, right? The other negative is people going into fan zones, they are, because they're right by the turnstile, or in our case, they're actually on the inside of the stadium. That means people aren't getting to their seats or their place on the terrace. Also, safe standing terraces are shit, by the way. Okay, just bluntly, I'm going to say that. I don't want to be sat with a big fucking rail across me for 90 minutes. It's very uncomfortable. I don't enjoy that experience whatsoever. Just bring back old terraces. Okay, all right, they were actually fine. Anyway, the atmosphere, it kills the atmosphere because people aren't in their seats before kickoff. Like before kickoff, Plymouth, the teams came out, Plough Lane was two-thirds empty.
Yeah.
And because people leave it to the last second now, they think, well, I don't need to get into the ground. It's just there. I can keep having fun in the fan zone. If they're listening to live music like they did at Southampton, which I don't see the point, kills all the conversation. So what's the point anyway? But that's what they do. Fair enough. But then there's no atmosphere generated before kickoff. And that used to be something that was just the norm. People would get in, especially in the old days of terraces where you had to find your space, especially at
Yeah.
Kings Meadow, when you had to get in there early to get space, create an atmosphere. That's why Kings Meadow, despite being rubbish, we had a really great atmosphere because we were in really, really early and getting the crowd going really a long time ahead of kickoff. Big, big factor in our win over the franchise the first time we played them, I would say.
Yeah.
We've lost all that now. And I think it's a real shame. So fan zones, I know they are financially beneficial to football clubs, but they're going on my new list. The list of Jericho is going to change from the list of Kit Shane to Nick's list of things I don't like. It's a very, very long list.
Yeah, I won't disagree. I think there's a place for them. Equally, yeah, I think football's changing in terms of it's more a case of the match day experience you'll hear a lot about now, where, when you and I were younger, the match day experience was watching the football. that
And
was
the atmosphere.
that was the experience. Yeah. So I get that. I think the fan has changed in terms of what they want. I suppose for Wimbledon we do the happy hour, so we get people in and get them drinking. I think I was thinking this for obviously what were the club going to do for the two home games we had left? So obviously Plymouth that we had Saturday and the Huddersfield game, in terms of what could they do to get the atmosphere going. And so one of my thinking was, could we extend the happy hour, just make it a permanent happy hour to get them pissed, because that tends to work.
They'd never come into the ground.
Well, that's the thing. The other argument is that we still have this stupid archaic rule where you can't drink alcohol inside a pitch.
Well, you see,
It's well, if you go to rugby, you can get pissed to your heart's content. That's maybe because you've got to enjoy the spectacle.
Spectacle in inverted commas, yes.
Yeah, but I think that's the only way you get people back into the ground. Because you're right, we need to build the. I had this discussion on Saturday, and I was told, unfortunately, we have a tannoy system that is not great. If we play music
public address system, tannoy is a brand name.
Play the music too loudly, and it's an earache. So how do you build up the atmosphere? Because you're right, what you want, right, is you. I wondered if the club, and it might have fallen on deaf ears anyway, but I was hoping the club might say, right, look, can you all get to your seats 10 minutes before the game? Doesn't mean they're going to. Or just shut the bars at half-2. Just make a decision. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Because you're right. The ground has always been half empty or three quarters, and you then find, we all moan about the Premier League fan who goes and gets their prawn sandwiches and then in the lounges, and then we've always noticed, like, look at Wembley, their sort of area, but where the dugouts are, is always empty because people have gone into hospitality to get their whatever. So, we're no different to that. But we definitely for the Huddersfield game, we need to really be getting that atmosphere going. But I just don't know how you do it when people are behind the stands drinking. So in one hand, we're getting the money in, we're doing well with that, but we need to make the Huddersfield game, obviously, hopefully we don't go into the final game of the season needing a win. Hopefully we can do something on Saturday. But we really need to make the home advantage count. Because it's right for the away fans. The away fans are always in. Like Plough Lane.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just a little bit blasé, aren't we? We've just got a bit of a posher fan now, aren't we? That's the problem.
It's interesting to say how, another example perhaps of where we think we are different, but we're not actually that different at all. Just as you say, see it up and down the grounds up in the Premier League all the time. And yeah, oh well, it is what it is. So, but I just wanted to get that off my chest. And I think when you said there about what fans want these days,
boobs is what they want,
as we all know. But that's a whole other discussion. All right, shall we get to the actual football?
Do we have to?
Yeah, okay. Well, what do we say about Plymouth? Apart from, do you know what I'll say about Plymouth? Is that we equalised. We scored a goal. We scored a goal. So that was a positive. Okay. All right. Unfortunately, we needed two positives. One to cancel out the negative and one just so we could have a positive. We only got the one goal. But once we had equalised, there was a little spell where we thought, okay, all right, luck might be changing. Plymouth hit the bar as well.
Yeah.
And we were just thinking the crossbar, and they didn't go out and join the fan zone. And then we were thinking, okay, there's a chance that we might actually get something out of this game. But do you know what Plymouth did? They brought on another goal-scoring, in-form centre-forward, changed their shape to two up front, and just killed us. We just cannot compete with these teams.
Yeah, I think we've seen, it's interesting. When you look at the three teams we've just last played at home, Luton Town, Stockport and Plymouth. When you look at the league table, obviously Stockport in the playoff places, Luton and Plymouth just outside. However, if you look at their game, if you look at the points per game, they're all over achieving on their points per game for the whole season in the last 8.
Right. Yeah.
So what that basically means is, Stockport 1.8. They 1.6 is for the season. Luton massive overperforming now, so 2.5 per game. Most of the season being 1.5, and Plymouth 1.88. Most season 1.52. So we've got teams that are now starting to really hit form at the right time of the season, and we're just hitting juggernauts, and they're all making subs around about the 60-minute that are just changing games.
Yeah.
And we're making subs that are just changing fitness, if I'm being honest with you. So we just have to be. I felt the worst thing we could have done on Saturday was score, and
Okay.
I'll explain what I mean by that.
Hmm.
Is it felt like the game all of a sudden opened up too much.
Yeah, true.
So we scored, and naturally, the home crowd will go push on for another one. But the game opened up so much. And the one thing they started doing was they started threading balls to Zhao and to people's feet. They started breaking through the midfield like it wasn't there. Loads of gaps appeared, and then all of a sudden they were in our back line. And I just felt, hey, look, I know we need to score, so I'm not saying we shouldn't have scored, but it's one of those games that you'd rather equalise late than so early, because we were naturally being pushed on by the fans because we had a chance. But realistically, like you say, they brought Pepper on, and the size of him, like ridiculous. Um, and yeah, the game turned. I don't think we defended well on a few of them. But equally, we've had 3 tough home games. So
Yeah.
I feel like the defenders are up against it, and also they're just all being pulled out of position and different combinations, and yeah, you've got a feel for them at the moment.
I mean, the three centre halves we had on Saturday, Oggs, Ryan Johnson back in, Steve Seddon. I mean, you're quite happy with all those three individually, but like you say, again, it's not. And, well, Oggs and Johnson, fair enough, but Johnson's still coming back from an injury, perhaps not fully fit. Seddon, Steve Seddon is great, but his best position is left wing back. And I know some people say, well, we had a bit of good run form when he moved to centre half at some point in the season. But for me, the reason we were talking about him as player of the year from like October was him at left wing back. But that's the problem. The injuries are forcing our hand in some of these regards. And we've ended up with a Simway, playing left wing back,
Yeah,
kind of. And then James Tilley also not 100% fit. And when you talk about the game opening up, how many times did Dale down the left hand side just run in behind the space and Tilley couldn't get back?
yeah,
And
yeah,
they carved us apart at times after the
yeah.
equaliser and after the changes. So we are
The
playing with
move,
one hand tied behind our back.
yeah, the movement was what killed us. The movement killed us. The off the ball running. We just couldn't live with it. We just couldn't live with it. I think Oggs has struggled, if I'm being truthful, with the standards he set. I think there's been a few occasions where I felt defensively he hasn't been great. Johnson was on a booking mid of the first half,
That is true.
which doesn't help you. And yeah, it's interesting. I've not listened to his interview after the game. I've seen a few captions for it. I've seen, now every video has the word captions with it, and it was basically case we can't make any excuses for that. I saw McDowell do a blog
Hmm.
saying, Jono was wrong to say we should make excuses. I understand where Mick's coming from, but I also understand Jono's a winner, and he won't. If you're going in there and the worst thing you do if you go in the change room is go, well, look, lads, we're fucked. We've got no players, because what does that do? We're winners.
Yeah.
And like I say, I was around the tunnel after the game on Saturday, and they looked really, really low. They all
Yeah.
looked devastated with it. So I get what Jono's saying with that, but like I say, he was on a booking really early on. You have to say Tajal was probably one of the best forwards we've seen down in our league this year. His finish was excellent.
Who?
Tajal, what's his name? Tajal, I don't know. The
I
number
must admit,
9.
I have to. I am guilty of not knowing this for sure. I think it is either Tolaj or Tolai.
They're number 9, we'll say.
They're number 9.
But I thought he was really good. I can see why. His finish was excellent. Um,
Yes.
Defensively, you can look and go, how have we managed him to do a 1-2 and do it? But you can always pick holes in every goal, can't you? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. Dale was really good. Yeah, but the difficulty is trying to judge how we've played against teams that are, just, for being honest with you, just better than us.
Yeah.
You just have to hold your hands up. What can you say? I think Luton, Stockport, and Plymouth have all beaten us comfortably. You have to say, if you're a neutral and you want to watch the playoffs, if them 3 teams are involved in it, wow, it's gonna be
Yeah.
it's gonna be a good watch, because they just have strength in depth. So, like I say, it's very difficult to measure it when you've got injuries yourself. And you're not too sure. I think you're right. I think John O was injured or wasn't 100%. And Tilly looked like he was probably saving a lot of his energy in the attacking part of the game, but didn't do the hard work that he normally does off the ball.
And just on that point, we look at Ronan Curtis for Plymouth, and people say we didn't have a fantastic game or anything like that. But if you actually watch the game, he's just got that level of intelligence that's just a bit above where we are. So even though it might not be the most spectacular performance he's ever had, just the little things that you do, the runs you make, decide the passes you make, those sorts of moments, decision making, spot on. Because this is what money buys you, doesn't it? It buys you the better quality of player.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen and what I've been reading, I think him and Peffel have probably been the turnaround players for Plymouth since the January window. And it probably highlights how poorly Port Vale did. Like, if you look at Port Vale now, they're probably like second half of the season, they're probably mid-table form-wise. It does suggest you Darren Moore wasn't as good as people made out, because a lot of times when Curtis wasn't Curtis wasn't even getting in the team at Port Vale.
Yeah, yes.
And he's been ever present for Plymouth. So, and I did notice Darren Moore has been targeted for the Barnsley job now, because they're letting their manager. Interesting when you say your manager's not going to be here at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Really weird one how you do that, unless you're at Chelsea and you can just basically just get paid off for doing nothing.
Different manager each week.
So you're right. Yeah, Curtis was different class, but we knew that. We knew that anyway, didn't we? But from memory, we played Port Vale early on this season when he would have been at Port Vale, and can't recall him even looking threatening. So it just shows you.
I just wonder about that Port Vale game. We played them at home earlier in the season, and that's where I think people talk about the Burton game where we could have gone top or whatever at some point. We lost 1-0, and people talk about that being a turning point. I think Port Vale was more. I thought the performance against Port Vale was really poor against what was at the time, as you say, a really, really poor team. I have been saying for quite a long time, even going back to last season on this podcast, because I wouldn't have had reason to before then, saying that Darren Moore, fantastic guy, really, really nice guy, got all the time in the world for him, but I'm never been sold as him as a top manager.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I might have got that one right. And I'm not normally one to say I get these things right, but also before the start of the season, Stu, some people suggest how it was sort of thought I was a bit odd when I said before the start of the season, if we want to have a good season, we need Marcus Brown and Miles Hippolyte to have great seasons. I think Marcus Brown was not viewed particularly popularly at the start of the season because people thought he was a bit selfish, a bit lazy, whatever it might be. Yeah. But clearly he was our best or most, what's the best player? Do you know what I mean? Like, technically best player that we have that could play in the Championship. Probably the only one, I would say, in the squad. And without him and Hippo, we look woeful.
Yeah, I agree. I sort of knew Hippo wouldn't be playing because I was sitting next to him in the press box for the Stockport game, and he said to me he's back in training on Friday, but he's done no sprinting yet. So as soon as you hear that, you sort of know there's no way we're going to push him in. Hopefully, if he's had a week of training, we might see him against Wigan. I must admit, the most disappointed I was when I saw the team news and no Marcus Brown.
Yeah,
that was a gut wrench. It's not saying we're a one-man team. We have no attacking threat, and he's our top goal scorer. So that was. I must admit, the 3 games at home, my mood has swung as soon as I've seen the team news. From going from optimistic to, well, not very optimistic.
Yes,
and then the game starts.
Well, yeah, and then it gets even worse, and then you go 1-0 down early, and with a shocking goal from a set piece again, by the way, because we can look back at that as well.
What the hell happened? In real time, you sort of go, has our goal kit been blocked off? You just look at it. I have no idea what Bishop's doing.
No.
I have no. He gets pushed, he gets nudged, but he's a 6 foot. He's a big lad. Yeah. Don't get pushed.
No.
But yeah, it was a goal that if you're going to be in relegation trouble, you concede.
Yes, but also, like you say, a goal that if you want to get out of relegation, so you cannot concede. You need to be doing those basics, and we've seen it now. It was Burton with the throw into the box that we didn't deal with whatsoever. Stockport, the first goal. I mean, come on. Hey, look, it is a great ball into the box for Stockport's first goal, and Johnny Jackson talks about moment of quality. It is a really good ball in the box, but by the end of it, centre forward is 6 yards out from goal, bang centre of goal for the free header. I'm not sure that should be allowed to ever happen. And then, as obviously Plymouth on Saturday, which was just a mess of a goal.
One thing I did notice, and someone actually did say to me before when they saw the team, was we had a lack of height
Yeah,
on
yeah,
on Saturday. I think we had 3 players over 6 foot, and I think
yeah.
you
One of
probably
which
pushed
is Alistair Smith, who did not challenge in the air at all.
I think one of them might have been in Ken, who I don't know. He's a tall lad, to be
Wow,
fair,
blimey,
but
fair enough.
he's a kid. He's a kid. But that
Yeah,
was a worry because you're right. Set plays, massive part of the game. One that we're normally good at. But if you look at the 6 footers we don't have, in terms of Joe Lewis, Omar
yeah,
Bagil, Marcus Brown, a strong lad, not tall but a strong lad.
yeah.
These are important things. Set pieces can sometimes dictate games, and we saw that again on Saturday.
Earlier, you said about scoring perhaps too early, and you want to score a bit later in the game, maybe to try and get something out of the match. But my counterpoint to that one, to come back to it, is we don't have we need options off the bench to do that, and we don't have options from the start. To be fair, and I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything about the individuals or whatever, but Aaron Sassu, Osmond Foyo, and Antoine Hackford were off forwards on the pitch at the end of that Plymouth game, and you're not going to do much again, especially against a team of Plymouth's pedigree with those three.
No, Hackford was a real disappointment. He's had chances to start and he hasn't looked great. Yeah. Do you know what? Him and Sassu could be the most frustrating pair ever if you ever talk to them because they just look like they're so laid back. They could literally be horizontal.
Yeah,
And that's their character probably. But, you sort of know if you had an Omar coming on or a Hutchinson coming on, they'll be up for war. These I don't see that. And that's no reflection on them individually, but they're the subs we have, and we have too many of those. Even Zach Nelson coming on again, I think he's a player that's so laid back.
mm.
I worry about lone players in relegation battles. I won't lie.
Yeah, fair.
They can always go back to their club. Um,
Yeah,
Kai Jennings is the only one who didn't get on the pitch. Riley Horan, obviously, he's come back, but we're not going to
yeah,
trust
isn't
the
it?
centre back.
No.
Kai Jennings, I would have probably brought on before Zach Nelson, but that would only be because I think, and it's difficult. I don't want to say, Zach Nelson doesn't give a shit because I don't know him, and we don't know that's the case. But it's just the lone thing that I have that sort of doubt. I would have probably put Kai in. But Johnny Jackson after the game did say that these two players, him and Foyo, were a National League team and
Yeah.
they've been recalled from that, and it's a big jump. And you know what we used to say? I was saying this to we had quite a lot of we had BBC Sport there. We had final score there on on Saturday, and I did say you're not here for us, you're here for Plymouth. We had a laugh about it, but I did say like the problem you've got. I actually forgot what was I going to say now? What
You were talking about that 50 quid you owe me.
I might have gone completely blank. Um, it's just that experience, Yeah, sorry, that's what I was going to say. You could argue we used to say the gap between League Two and League One wasn't that big.
Mm,
I think that's changing. I think there's a
hmm
massive difference between League Two and League One.
mm.
So the difference between League One and National League is naturally even bigger, and that's a concern. League One has got some really big teams, strong teams. League Two doesn't anymore.
Good use of National League there, Stu. I mean, I'm not happy with it myself. It will always be the conference to me, as we discussed last time.
Can I just
But
say
yeah,
very quickly, if you love your National League, last game of the season on
yeah,
Saturday, Rochdale at home to York. Wow.
yeah.
Like, forget the argument about, teams that score 100 points should automatically go up. No, both of them teams would have voted for themselves to stay in League Two when they were in our league. But
Of
what a
course.
game! What a game to finish the season! Like, I'm going to be tuning in. I think that's going to because just get away from the fact it's playoff season coming up now, which is the greatest part of the season when your team's not involved.
And on an earlier note about playoffs, very quickly, you talked about if Plymouth and Luton and Stockport get in there, they'll be great. But do you know what? Stevenage need to fall out of them because they will just bore the pants off everyone ever involved. It's the worst football team to watch in the
Yeah,
history of football, I think, possibly. Anyway, the last thing, just on that note, though, about experience and forwards and things like that. Nelson, I know what you say about Nelson. I think at least Nelson he does have legs and he has energy and he'll get up and down. So he does
Yes.
offer us something, I think, but we need to see it. And again, I'm just going to say, I thought Leighton Stewart looked lively, looked okay on Saturday. Now we finally see him, and he's got a start. I thought Nakeng again looked lively, but we've still got this problem with Nakeng for all the wonderful skills and dribbling and things like that. We're still looking at, I think, one assist in what is coming up to what 20 odd appearances now. Two goals in the space of 10 minutes against Leyton Orient.
Yeah.
So teams already seem to have wisened up to him, I think, and again the other point, as you referenced there about Jennings, these are very very young players in the middle of an awful situation in terms of being at the foot of the table in a relegation battle. So it's really really hard for them all.
Yeah. Do you know what? Ken playing up front was interesting. I thought I wouldn't say him and Stuart partnered well because just so different.
Yeah,
And I don't think you can partner in Ken because he's just so different in what he does. He gets me off my seat. I won't lie about that. He can take a player on. I think the problem you got at the moment is if he was in a team of Omar, Matty Stevens, Marcus Brown, he wouldn't be the focal point. So at the moment, it's easier to put two or three people on him because actually he's probably the only player capable of doing anything up front, with all due respect. Whereas if the other defenders had other people to worry about, he might get a
yeah,
bit more space. But it's quite easy to pinpoint where our threat's going to come from, and it was Justin Ken. That's the
mm,
truth of it. So I think it's hard on him. I don't, unless Marcus Brown is back on Saturday, I don't see any other combination. I think it's Stewart and Kang again. Stewart because of he's tenacious and he sort of typifies what you want from a player in a relegation battle. That sort of never die, that real sort of gives a shit in that sort of
yeah,
side of it. And then Kane because you're just hoping that if you're going to get any bit of magic, because let's be fair, at the moment scoring a goal does feel either it's a mishit or it's a bit of magic. Then that's the case. The goal on Saturday for me was a little bit of a scuff from Tilly,
yeah,
that went thankfully into to Smith, who still tried to miss it. It didn't
yeah.
go in with any. It didn't. It's not like, but it's not. It's not saying take away from the goal, but I just, yeah, it's tough. But at the moment, we have to work with what we've got and find a way.
Does only take a second to score a goal. As ridiculous as that might sound to believe right now, given our record at the moment, but you never ever know. The last thing about strikers I mentioned, you talked about Sasso and Hackford being laid back. When they played together up front against Stockport, I was convinced that those two just do not like each other. There was no relationship on the pitch whatsoever. I don't think they ever passed to each other. It was like, I don't know, it felt like I was watching, who was it that didn't like each other? Was it Andy Cole and Teddy Sheringham? It was
Yeah,
like watching those two just without the actual ability to get over that and work. It was like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. They might not like each other, but they could still produce magic. Sasso and Hackford could not do that unless the magic trick is disappearing act. Anyway, one thing before we get talk more about relegation battle and things like that. Another thing that annoyed me about Saturday, very briefly, because I don't want to go into too depth, and I've said this on Nazi Twitter on the podcast account. Our stewards are fantastic for the away fans, and I know that they have a certain way to manage crowds now that they have discovered, which is, get them on side and join in with their songs, make them happy, make them feel at ease so they're not going to get angry and kick off or whatever. Very much easier to do when the fans are teams at the top of the table that are on good runs and are winning games. Once you are 3-1 down, or 2-0 down to Stockport, or 3-0 down to Luton, the stewards can just you don't need to get involved, because then I just feel like we're being absolutely taken a piss out of on our home stadium with our own stewards joining in crowds celebrating a victory for the away team. So I just ask, could someone just have a word and just say, great at the start, whatever you need to do, but once it gets to a certain point, just nip it in the bud, lads. Because it must be when I saw them still singing songs and everything with Plymouth 3-1 up and everything, I was like, that don't impress me much. Which
no.
also is not, I must say, is not my favourite Shania Twain song. Actually, I had to say that. Do you know what my favourite Shania Twain song, Stu?
No.
Player, I feel like a player. Anyway,
Yeah, it does feel like our stewards are trolling us in a little way, a little bit sometimes. I did notice that because I noticed at one point the Plymouth fans were stewards give us a song, and I'm like, fuck off. Yeah, I get it. I get the way they manage the crowd,
Yeah,
but
fair.
yeah, the last thing you want is to see a party, from where we sit. You don't want to see a left-hand side a party with the stewards joining in and the rest of, and you look to your right and everyone's gone off, everyone's fucked off home.
Yeah,
Or back to the fan zone to have a beer. So
yeah.
yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think it's just the whole feeling around the ground at the moment.
Mm. It can all change
Yes.
in a. Oh, do you know what? It's a shame we're not playing away at Rotherham on Saturday. Do you know that? Because then we could have said in a New York Stadium minute, everything can change. But we'll have to go for in a
Well,
brick community stadium minute.
it'd be a lot easier to win. That's for sure.
Well, you say that, but didn't they turn over? Who did they turn over the other day that really messed up? There was somebody they beat the other day. I will look it up. Okay.
Yes.
Whilst I say the word to change tack slightly, when I say the word Wolfpack, I will hand over to you whilst I investigate this Rotherham thing.
Yeah, the Wolfpack. It's created a little bit of a thing on social media about why have we named them the Wolfpack, and they're not the crazy gang and stuff. It was obviously the Wolfpack was a term used for the 2015-16 successful playoff winning team, who 10-year reunion. Wow, 10 years. On Thursday. Really good evening. Really good evening. Well attended. Um, one, I've said this for ages. It's the last team I feel that we had a team packed full of personalities, real proper leaders. Um, Lyle Taylor, obviously, but Paul. Yeah, there was one bit there. Paul Robinson, Darius Charles, and Carly Osborne, who you sort of forgotten about in that.
Yeah.
But when Cardi signed, it was a real big statement for us. He was at Bristol City. He's now an agent. He's now a soccer agent, so we can all boo him now.
A what
Uh,
agent?
a football agent.
There we go.
You can tell me around
You
America's.
like American things now.
But yeah, really good. The highlight was, and if you watch, it's out on the OS now to watch it with a few bleeps because there was a few swear words. But probably the comment of the night, and I said to you beforehand, was when Aaron Paul was asking Adi Aziz how it was like to play with Lyle Taylor, and he just said Lyle Taylor was a bit of a prick,
Mm.
which really went down so well. Lyle Taylor basically went, "Yeah, can't disagree with that." Lyle was happy to laugh at himself, but it was one of the things noticeable. Normally in them events, if there's noise, they're all sat at the back of the room, so they hadn't seen each other for many, many years. And whilst certain pairings were on the stage, all you could hear was a commotion at the back of the room where they were just loving being around each other. So normally
Okay.
you'd be like, can you just shut the fuck up? But actually, it was really nice to see that team all bonding together again, and it was a really good evening, and it's something I wish we could do more and more often. Not just always 10-year celebrations, but even just bringing back former players. It's just great to see.
It's just a shame that Carly Osborne never played alongside Jason Yule because then they could have been Carly and Jason.
Oh dear. Oh, next.
Stu, that joke was especially for you.
Oh,
Thought you'd appreciate that.
do you know what?
Oh
Right,
dear.
it, Nick, read the room. We're in a relegation battle. There's no time for fun.
No, no one should smile. No one can
No, it
laugh or
feels like
anything.
it feels like you shouldn't smile at this point. It's just like it's too much. Yeah, it's just too much on these games. I wish we could play Football Manager for real and just fast forward and just find out what the score and the situation was on the 2nd of May at
Yeah, especially if
5:30, whatever it is.
because bizarrely we are actually kicking off at 3 o'clock. So I'm
Yeah, I had
guessing
to
they're
think. I
all
had to think about that.
because normally they change it for the last game, but I'm guessing they're all going to be on the red button or something on Sky. So yes, Football Manager would be great because especially if the results didn't go away, we could just switch it off and try again. But unfortunately, in real life, you don't get that opportunity. Not for the moment, anyway. Who knows what future holds for us in that regard? Rotherham, they won last weekend away at Leyton Orient to keep Leyton Orient in the ship. That was the game I was thinking of.
You said that was a surprise. You would argue that it's probably not a surprise result.
Well, you
Leyton
thought
Orient is the one that if we're looking at relegation battle, Leyton Orient are the one that could be properly caught in it.
Well, especially as they have got a game on the final day of the season away at.
They're
No, I
home to
buggered that up. At
they're
home, sorry, to
home
Burton
to
Albion.
Burn.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's an interesting one. Burton have got quite a bit to say in in a relegation. I don't think they would get themselves. I know people said it's really shocked me. People were saying that Burton weren't all that when we played them, but they beat us 1-0 and didn't really give us much of an opening. Do you know what I mean? I think they're just an ugly team to play against.
Just and again, experienced manager who's been there. Burton have been in this position for a number of years now, and they know what to do to grind things out. They're unbeaten in four as it stands, and I'd say they could probably draw those. They can draw those last two games, and that keeps them safe.
Yeah, we look at I tried to look at the four teams that are probably around us, which we would know is Exeter, Burton, Peterborough, Leyton Orient, um, and look at some interest, like sequences of stuff. So with Burton, there's no defeat in the last three games at home, and they've scored one or more goals in the last four home games. So that's good news for us playing Exeter
Yeah,
on that. So they're gonna have a say in it. You hope in a way that in Burton and Leyton are both sort of like 1 or 2 points away from us, just so it means it all depends on what we can't look too far ahead. We've only got 2 games left, but it really this round of games will dictate the last game of the season. We're lucky in a way that Wigan and Huddersfield have nothing to play for. Whether that helps you or not, we don't know, but I think it should.
I think it definitely helps in this. Yeah, 100%. And but I mean, as you say, we've still got the issue of at the moment we need to stop conceding goals and we need to score goals. And we said we almost need to score twice to win a game at the moment. But two, the only thing I'd say about Exeter with their 96-minute goalkeeper goal scoring equaliser is I had two thoughts. One is the first thing it does is it means we can't. I don't think 51 points. Before that, I thought 51 points keeps us up. And I'm not certain that that is the case now. But similarly, is that Exeter's celebrated too soon John Hartson against Aston Villa moment?
Yeah,
Kind of,
heard that a lot. Heard that a lot
yeah,
about John Hartson. Do you know what? Fair play to Exeter because I don't know if you've seen the highlights, but their
hmm,
keeper, the actual corner
yeah,
led was a keeper. Their keeper actually had a header on target that was saved to
yeah,
get the final corner, so it wasn't a fluke.
no,
It's some header. It's not like a fluke header. It's a run near post. Fair play, fair play. Do you know what I mean? At this point of the season, you've got to do something. So they've done that. They've given. It's now moved it. So yeah, you're right. 51 points probably isn't enough to stay up, but it could be. I don't want to test it.
yeah.
I don't want to test it. I'd rather just us. You know, if you looked at it, I think Exeter still would say they'd rather be in our position than their position because points on the board is better than her saying you have to it's a 2 point handicap. The trick for us is to make sure as many teams as possible are in the mix
Yeah.
because anything can happen. But yeah, I think now that we've got Wigan who are not playing or anything, and Huddersfield who their season has fallen flat, hasn't it? Um,
Yeah.
they've got I can't think is it Rhodes who's the manager? Is it Rhodes? Not Rhodes. Can't think. They
No,
got
hasn't Liam Manning or someone like that gone in there?
he's yeah, but he's left. He's not left. He's been given garden leave because unfortunately he lost his child. And I think he's still been suffering from that with grief. So they've got a um,
I
I
see.
think it is. It's a player that it's an ex-player that we know. I can't think now who it is. It might be Rhodes, but a lot of they've literally crashed. Nowhere near the playoffs now. You have to think that if we can get any players back and we seriously have a go at them, then that's a game we can win. But I would rather just sort it out on Saturday. 3 points will be enough, I think, to get us out.
I can envisage a situation which Burton and Exeter draw on Saturday because it will keep them both fairly happy if we lose, which is possible. Because Burton, a point that does it, that keeps them safe. A point for Exeter keeps them in the mix, gambling that we will lose to Wigan. It takes it to the last day. If I'm being honest with you, Exeter at home to Bradford on the last day.
That's right.
If I was a betting man, I'm putting money on Exeter to win that game. I've got to be honest. I just get that sense at this moment in time. I feel like that's a game they will win.
Yeah, Bradford don't travel well, but they do need to secure. I think they probably will have secured a playoff place, but it's probably also fighting to finish as high up. So you have the home leg second.
Yeah,
It's not the worst team for us to have at Exeter. I just think if we're in a situation, if we have to be out of the bottom four going into the
yeah,
Huddersfield game.
yeah.
We have to. So whatever Exeter do doesn't make difference. What we do. I suppose we can look at many positives. The one negative I would say that's been eating away at me is we haven't been in the bottom four all season.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, there's always that thought that you can drop in.
Yeah, that's mad when you think about it. That's a great stat to actually say because we wouldn't have thought that beginning of the season. However, my big worry is dropping into the bottom four going into the final game, meaning we've got to outplay. We've got to match Exeter's result or over the Leyton and get themselves in shit. That concerns me a little bit. It's the old saying of going teams that have never been really in a relegation battle. If they get into it really late, they struggle because they're not expected to be in it. I wouldn't say we're that way because we've been shit for a little while.
Yeah,
Like the form is mad. I did say this on Saturday. I felt like if we had, say, another 3 or 4 games to play
yeah,
on this current run of games, Johnny Jackson's future would have been in doubt.
yeah. Fair.
1 point in 27, lost 8 of the last 9 games.
Yeah,
That is terrible form.
yeah.
So yeah, there's positives, there's negatives. Just depends if you're a half full or half empty person.
The so the echoes with the Premier League relegation season all that season. So 9 defeats. We finished that with 9 defeats in 10. And we could be in a similar boat. And obviously, we know that season Eggleston did get relieved of his duties. So I take your point 100%.
And the similarities unfortunately, Nick, is that we are relying on Bradford to do something. as we were.
Oh, the irony of ironies.
That's not been lost on me.
Yes, this is. Yeah, very good point. Yeah, a quarter of a century on, how times change. John Stead is in charge at Huddersfield now instead of Liam Manning. And Huddersfield, as you say, if you're looking at clubs in the division that have had the worst season, I know people would look at the relegated clubs immediately. I would say no. I would say Huddersfield because of the spend that they have, and they have just been underperforming all season. And finally, I suppose it was apt for their season that they fell out of the playoff race because of a 96-minute equaliser for Bolton when Bolton only had 10 men. I think that probably summed up Huddersfield's season. And maybe at the end, teams do finish where they deserve to finish.
But do you know what? Bolton have done that twice now. So Bolton have had 10 men. They had 10 men against Plymouth and won 2-1.
Oh, they did. Yeah, true.
And we know Plymouth are a very good side. We know that. And have done that against Huddersfield as well. So you have to say Bolton, proper strong team if they're doing that. I think Huddersfield, a manager plays a massive part. They've had a topsy-turvy season. That's their third manager, and a manager that hasn't really much experience. I think if we were looking at, there's probably a handful of teams you wouldn't mind playing the last game of the season at home. So the teams that are relegated, nothing to play for, and actually Huddersfield, you probably would chuck in there of the top half because they don't feel like they've got the resilience.
Yes.
Hopefully, combat a packed and ferocious Plough Lane crowd.
Fingers crossed. Last question. If you were to put the league table in order of how many clean sheets each club has had this season, where do you think we would be in the league table? If most clean sheets was top, where would we be out of 24?
I'd probably say the bottom 4.
Yeah, 23rd.
Yeah.
Where do you think Port Vale would be?
Just because you're asking it, I don't think they would be below us. Well, it'd be quite hard to be below us, say 1%.
It would be hard, but yes, you think the team that
um,
have been down there the whole season would be a good shout though, but no,
I'd probably say about 12th.
7th.
Wow.
Only 6 teams have kept more clean sheets this season than Port Vale. Absolutely
Yeah.
crazy how this league works. Who is bottom? If we're 23rd, who do you think is bottom? I think you can work this one out. I think you might have a good
Rotherham.
guess. No, it's a good guess though.
Um,
Um,
Northampton.
Cobblers. No, it's not anyone down the bottom.
Really?
Yeah, the fewest clean sheets in the league this season. It's Barnsley.
Well, that's probably not surprising because they are they are, most of their games are like cup games, and also they have Owen Goodman. Which is really unfair. That's really unfair when you think about what
Only
we
for
did
half the
this
season.
season. Yeah, yeah. The other half was at Huddersfield, and they got rid of him.
Yeah.
And do you know what I was looking at? So I was looking at what our previous run of really bad form that we had in October. Because one of the criticisms I've got is we've just not been able to stop the rot by getting a win or getting a draw and
Mm.
just stopping us rot. And this bad run. But when we had our last bad run, we couldn't score for Toffee until we played Huddersfield away. Then the Owen Goodman effect happened. So if you've got any omens, Huddersfield, even when we couldn't score goals in that run of games, we got 3.
The problem is we're playing Huddersfield and they got rid of Owen Goodman and they replaced him in goal with a cone, and that's going to be a lot trickier for us to score against. So that's really harsh.
Can I just
That's
say that?
so harsh. I do apologise, Owen. That's so
I was reading a story, right? I was reading a story about Jason Roberts, right? And Harry Redknapp and was it Jim Smith when they were at Pompey? Jason,
Mm.
Jim Smith was saying to Harry Redknapp that he kept on thinking that Jason Roberts' middle name was unlucky because that's all he kept hearing when he kept missing a ball and the goal. So apparently Jim Smith convinced Harry Redknapp to do a training drill where they removed the goalkeeper and they just had an empty net. And to make sure it wasn't a scapegoat, they brought Teddy Sheringham in it as well and just put crosses in. And Jason Roberts still kept missing.
Oh, no.
And apparently Harry Redknapp went, well, thanks for the great idea. You've just now made sure that he thinks he's proper shit now.
Yeah, exactly. Just completely destroyed his confidence
It's
whatsoever.
just when he said we replaced him with a cone, he just brought that story back to me. It's like, how bad must you be when you can't even score when there's no goalkeeper?
I'm not going to say anything anymore, and probably ever again on this podcast. Interesting you talk about bad runs though, because just on this last one, we've had 8 home wins. This was pointed, well, not pointed out, but Kevin Boris asked me the other day. Actually, he said, "How have our home wins come this season?" Because he'd had an inkling, and he pointed out to me. So our 8 home wins this season, 4 of them came in our first 5 home games,
That's right.
and then in February and March we had 4 in a row. And
Yeah, that was,
outside
yeah.
of those 2 periods, not a home win. So it's just funny how we go on
Yeah.
streaks and runs and things.
And that's been our problem, isn't it? Well, I say problem. Like I say, yeah, the early run was when we played Barnsley, didn't we? They had 10 men.
Lincoln
We
had 10
must
men. Barnsley were
Lincoln,
just shit.
sorry, yeah. But then also the other one, let's not forget, we beat Bradford at home, beat Reading at home.
Yeah.
So we were able to beat these teams in there, but you're right, the bad runs have been really bad.
Yeah.
And we've managed to then get a block of wins that's just kept our head above water. But yeah, it's how you finish, not how you start, I suppose, isn't it?
It is all about how you finish. We're not finished just yet, though. We have a game with Richard Osman Foyer's House of Games to play. And Stu, let's see how we go with this one. This is, I call this for a little bit of fun and levity to all the nonsense about relegation, all that stuff. We're going to be fine, I promise you. This game's called Sounds Like. I'm going to read you 2 clues.
Mm-hmm.
Your answer is going to be the answer to the first clue, but one of the words will be replaced by a word that it sounds like in the second answer. We'll do a practice run. Okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
the first one is the first clue, our current director of football.
Hope Craig.
Yep. Craig Cope. And then the second part of it is leader of the Catholic Church.
Ah, okay, the Pope. So Craig Pope.
There we go. All right, perfect.
And let's hope he is a Pope, because we need some divine intervention.
I don't think Craig Cope is the Pope.
No, but if he was, he would be able to not only get his players, he'd be able to pray that they play well.
Do you know what? If Craig Cope was the Pope, that would be dope. And it would be the stuff of a soap. And we'd no longer have to mope.
Oh, I can't cope with this.
About our awful form.
Okay,
let's try this one for real then. So the two clues on this one are tall midfielder signed from Hereford, had 2 spells with us, originally signed from Hereford United. Very tall midfielder, likes to attack Milton Keynes fans with wayward shots before kickoff. And then the second part is Southampton's old stadium.
Harry Dell.
Next one, goalkeeper.
I signed from Hereford.
Yeah, back in the day, yeah.
What about that?
What, 2013 or 2014, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Okay, goalkeeper now at Luton Town. Yeah. And the team that ended our 78-game unbeaten run.
James Cray.
This game works. Combative midfielder, non-league, Ryman League midfielder, scored away at Aldershot in the FA Trophy, the famous victory at Aldershot in the FA Trophy.
Yep.
And the goddess of WWE.
Chris. I don't know, who's it?
What do you mean? Don't do this to me, Stu. The goddess of WWE.
We've not spoken about her for ages, have we?
We say her name every week.
I know, but it's so, like it's something that I listen to all the time that I don't pay much attention to.
Wow. You sound like one of my students.
Chris, I don't. Oh, that's going to really bug me now. What's her name? Oh, my days.
It's like a punch to my stomach. My heart is in tatters on the floor. Alex.
Oh, yeah, Chris Bliss. No. Chris.
You will get there.
Chris Gell was the player that scored the goal, yeah?
Yeah.
Chris.
So what word in the second answer sounds like a word in the first answer?
Oh, Bliss Gel.
There we go.
Oh.
We got there. How about this one?
Oh, my days. Yeah, go.
New Zealand World Cup striker.
Yeah.
And former TV presenter, female, formerly of The Big Breakfast. And now I think she presents a show on Channel 5 in the mornings.
The Shane Smelts is the first one.
Just think of a TV presenter, blonde hair.
Old.
I wouldn't say that.
Shane Phelps.
Yes. There we go.
She is old.
Yeah, I know, but I don't. If she was on The Big Breakfast when I was a kid, then yes.
She ever on The Big Breakfast?
Yeah, didn't she used to be on the? Yeah, I swear she used to be on The Big Breakfast.
I remember Kelly Brook and Vanessa Van Houten being.
I don't think she was a main presenter. Do you remember like Paulie Yates or someone used to do an interview where they were lying on a bed? I think Vanessa Feltz took over that bit for a little while.
I'm not saying anything.
Let's see the next one. See, I'm not sure you'll know this one, but this might be one for the listeners. Okay, academy graduate. He was an FA Youth Cup goal scorer away at Watford, probably about 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And then the second one is the Ghostbusters character played by Harold Ramis.
But Alfie Egan is probably the player.
Yeah.
I have no idea about what it sounds like. So yeah, that can be a listener one.
Yeah, we'll put that out to the listeners. Tweet us on Nazi Twitter at 9YRS Podcast. Email us 9YRS@may14.co.uk if you know the answer to that one. Last one, Stu. Former Birmingham, Derby and Sheffield United winger. This is a niche player. He didn't play many games for us. He only played about 12 games for us in 2001. But he did score for us against Middlesbrough in the FA Cup in 2001.
Or Birmingham, Sheffield United.
Yeah.
2001 season. That was a really depressing season. I haven't got a clue.
you want me to tell you the answer to that bit?
Yes, go for it.
Jonathan Hunt.
Ah, yes, he was. Yes.
Do you know what? I think we'll end it there. Let's not do the second part of that one. Let's move swiftly on.
And he used to play for franchise. He was a yes.
Yes. Let's move on. So we play Wigan on Saturday.
Yes.
As we've spoken, we'll just very briefly mention. So Gary Caldwell is in charge. They have made their way up to 14th, which is impressive because not so long ago they were right in the mix. So they've got themselves completely out of trouble. They are 5 unbeaten in the league. They are 5 unbeaten at home. And they have what we don't have, which every other club we're playing at the moment does have, which is a goal scorer in Joe Taylor, who we've come up against in the past, formerly of Colchester and Luton and what have you.
And on loan from Huddersfield.
Oh, we'll see.
Which is mad.
Yeah.
Which is mad when you think about it, because they had Alfie May up front, and
Yeah.
I've always liked Joe. So was it Luton, wasn't he, when he struggled at Luton?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what? Obviously, Caldwell has done great there. Obviously, probably why Exeter probably falling in and out a little bit without him. My worry is he'll want to do a favour to his team that he left. That's my worry. But I can't honestly say we're going to go there and win. I'm hoping we win. I don't think we lose. I think we take at least a draw.
Yeah, I think it's got draw written all over it, and we will take that happily. And that keeps our heads above water for 1 week if Exeter don't beat Burton. But then if Exeter do beat Burton, it brings Burton right into things on the last day, which also brings Leyton Orient in onto the last day, unless Leyton Orient get a win away at Blackpool, who, thanks to a win last week away at Wycombe on 54 points, would expect to be out of it. So, yeah, it's just... There's still so many twists and turns to come.
Isn't it mad? Because before this run of 8 defeats in 9, our last win was a home win against Blackpool. 4-1.
And their captain was basically in tears afterwards.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Decent manager up there, Ian Evatt, ex-Bolton. So, yeah, fair play to Blackpool. Didn't look that way that they were going to escape at all. Yeah, you have to wonder also whether we're going to have any updates or people on the bench that are going to know what Exeter are doing at Burton, because it could dictate. The key thing for us is 1 win, get ourselves out of the shit ourselves. 2 is if we just don't have the squad or the forward players to get anything, is to make sure we at least stay out of that bottom 4. So it could be a case of it happens on the end of of course it happens in the last game of the season, but I think it could be really important for this one as well. I don't know about you, but I'm probably going to be more concentrating on what's happening at Burton, because ultimately we can play shit and score no goals for the last 2 games of the season if Exeter do nothing.
Do you know, a few weeks ago, I locked myself away for a couple of hours at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. It was Burton away, and I just thought, I just can't. It changed. Things happen during a football match, and you react to every single change. And you know what? It can drive you insane.
Yeah.
So I've got to the point now. I just want to know. So a couple of weeks ago, we lost at Burton, but I chucked myself away. I went to watch the drama with what's his name, Robert Pattinson, and Zendaya. Excellent film, highly recommended film. And then by the time the film was finished, I came out and then I could check the score and see that we'd lost. But I didn't have any of that nerves or anxiety. Do you know what I mean? So I think I might do that on Saturday again and find somewhere to lock myself.
What's really interesting, I actually haven't really spent much of the time on my phone looking at other teams. Like, in that relegation season out of League One under Robbo, I was forever looking. I'll tell you a funny story though as well. But obviously, the guy that was there for BBC Sport Final Score, he was sitting next to me on Saturday, and during the second half, he would nudge me on the shoulder and just go, "Stop what scored. Stop what scored."
Yeah. It was the same way we were sat. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when Exeter equalised, he looked really sheepish. He went, "Exeter equalised." I went, "Oh." It was their goalkeeper. I just went, yeah, typical. Sometimes, I've been around football long enough to know that these things happen. And he looked really shocked. I went, yeah, typical. I'm like, this is what happens. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't script it. You can't
Yeah.
script it. But yeah, so I've not really been in a position where I've been looking at my phone too much, worrying about everyone else, which is credit to Johnny Jackson and the team. That, like I say, we've not been in the bottom four all season. That's how. I won't say how good. We have been good when you think about what we're battling against in terms of
Of
squads and
course.
money.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
But I think that may change for the last two games. Hopefully we just win at Wigan. Let's just do our shit. Not worry about what someone else doing as a favour. Do our shit. Win the last two games. Safe. Ain't gonna happen, but hopefully.
Well, updates from the game with Wigan at the the Brick Stadium.
We have to know why they called it a brick.
Well, it's mainly made of plastic, I'd imagine, and metal and steel. But it looks maybe quite a lot of bricks on on the exterior. Maybe I don't know. I'm not in construction, so I don't really know, to be honest with you. But the thing is, I don't have another name to call it because they've all been sponsors' names. I don't like using sponsors' names, but obviously back in the day, it was the JJB Stadium, if you remember,
Yeah,
when it first opened.
I always felt it was a ground that I didn't really understand. And what I mean by that, right, is that they obviously got promoted through the JJB sponsorship and got to the Premier League, but it was very much a ground like Sellers Park that the away fans took over, didn't they, and stuff like
Mm.
that. And now hardly anyone goes. I've never been to Wigan. It's a ground I've never really had much enthusiasm. Um, but I think if I remember properly, wasn't Wigan the game when Robbo's first game? I swear Robbo's first game for Wimbledon manager was up at Wigan and we won there. Almost positive for some reason that we did win there. Because it didn't feel ground that was ultimately that what's the word? Didn't feel ultimately intimidating.
But it
Um,
wouldn't have done when Robbo took over because it was during COVID and there was no one allowed in anyway.
well, that's why I did look intimidating.
That'll be why.
Um, but yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Although I must say, I did watch Leicester get relegated yesterday,
Oh
um,
yeah.
and hardly anybody was there. I'm sitting there thinking, can I just say, right, Leicester, this is not a rant, right, about amount of money. Leicester are skint, right? They have no money. What do they do before the game? They have all the fireworks going off and the light show. I'm like, mate, you are skint. How much does that cost you? Yeah, they're going to hopefully grace Plough Lane next season, along with Sheffield Wednesday in League One. Let's hope.
Yes, and hopefully we will be there with them. Do you know what, Stuart? I think you're right because I cannot check this and make it 100% official. But Robbo took over from Glyn Hodges, who lost his job, I think, after we lost
Guys,
to Milton Keynes. And Wigan was the first game after that, a week later. And yeah, we did win. We
that's
won 3-2.
how scary is that? I'm never remembering many things. I think in my head, Pigott scored, and
Yeah.
I think it was just, I think because Wigan were decent in that division, and it was just a case of we've gone there and won. It's quite a statement win. That's area, but hopefully we can recapture. Hey, look, I'll settle for one goal, let alone three at Wigan. But you never know. Sometimes you can't score for love nor money, and then they all turn up at once.
They are like buses, and anything can happen in football. Anything can happen. We shall see.
Definitely.
We didn't talk about bonds, but I mean, something's happened with bonds. There you go.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one, isn't it, Mo? 50.1 is sort of taking over all the sort of financial side of it, and but yeah, we have a couple of surveys. We've managed to from the money we were due to pay out. I think they got to pay out 1.2 million, and there is from the survey there is appetite for open up Power Lane bond as well for cheaper interest. It's a great job. Look, bond to me is, yes, it's friendly debt, but it's kicking can down the road. However, 50.1 hopefully might stop that a little bit. But the other news we're going to say, season tickets have been extended, so that suggests to me that maybe I do know a few people that are waiting to see what division we're going to be in before securing their season ticket, because we are no doubt going to be one of the most expensive in League One next season, and that will mean we will definitely be the most expensive in League Two.
So we've extended the window for what, for early birds or for renewals? What have we done?
For
Because
renewals,
we're
I
signed,
believe.
sealed,
Yeah,
and
so
delivered.
you can now the early birds was when you had to pay up in all in one. You couldn't do the direct debit. The second window was this without the early bird prices, but you could then do direct debit
Direct
over
debit.
3, 6 or 9 months. So yeah, and I imagine people are waiting. And it's sensible to wait. I get that with that. And then finally, good luck to the academy who are going for the treble. And
Wow.
playing Luton Town at Kenilworth Road, so that'll be a throwback to the '60s when they go there. Uh, and also, good luck to the women's team who finished the season at #United. And it's in their hands now. They won at home to Exeter the other week, and it's now in their hands. If they win, they stay in that division, which is a great achievement. They've had a challenging season, and hopefully
Yeah.
and Kevin Foster's last game as well. So
Mm. And you got
yes,
a nice reception at Plough Lane on Saturday as well. So best of luck to the academy team and the women's team this weekend. And #United, who knows what the future holds for whatever that enterprise is all about, really. But
enterprise.
yeah, I don't know what else to
Yeah.
call it. Like
Who said they
sham.
want to get? Who said they want to get relegated, even if they don't get relegated?
Yes. Mm.
Fair play.
Each to their own, I guess. Anyway, I think that's us then for this week's Stu.
Yes, yes.
So
All aboard the Wigan. I don't know. No, I'm not going there. I don't know. I don't know what's going. Just all aboard the Wigan result. I don't know. I just want to get it over and done with.
all aboard the Wigan results. New tagline for the podcast. Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining me this week, Stu.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last, 2 + 2 = 4, and we shall speak to you again next week.